In the nearly 30-year history of our company, we have helped tens of thousands of nonprofits to get started. From small to large, with budgets measured in the thousands to millions of dollars, we've seen and worked with them all. And though there are many differences between each of them, we've found that each of them faces a remarkably similar set of challenges when it comes to getting started. Hi, I'm Greg McRae, founder and CEO of Foundation Group, and welcome back to our 501c3 University channel, where we strive to make nonprofit issues understandable. If you like this video, make sure and hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. We've got great content coming your way on a regular basis. A pet rescue is very different than a youth baseball team. Same for a private school and a museum. But for all their differences, when you strip away the actual category of their work, it's amazing just how similar their challenges start looking, especially in the first few years. The fact is, all nonprofit startups have more in common than they do that's different. And in this video, we're going to look at 6 distinct challenges faced by all new nonprofits and how to best address them. Challenge number 1 is securing funding. Now, I'm putting this one first because this is a big challenge for all but the self-funded variety of nonprofit startup. From a standpoint of percentages, the majority of new organizations, they have to raise support for their mission. That's just how it works. Now, here are 3 issues to consider within this idea of securing funding. The first sub-challenge, if you will, is limited funding sources. Most nonprofit organizations, especially those that are 501c3, are going to have 3 primary potential sources of revenue: donations and grants, fundraising event revenue, and program revenue. Now, we've talked about all of these before, and we'll link videos below. I want to focus primarily on the need to generate donor support, though. Most new nonprofit startups are going to need contributions from the general public in order to raise sufficient funds to get their program going in earnest. You simply must learn early on the best practices of cultivating donors who love your mission. The second sub-challenge of securing funding is competition for resources. Look, as much as we would like to pretend that charities exist in a utopia of cooperation and inter-organizational generosity, the truth is a little more brutal than that. There is a finite number of dollars available to fund your new organization, and all the other nonprofits competing for the attention and devotion of your potential donor are real. Understanding how to publicize your message and capture the hearts of supporters is part art and part science. Know on the front end that it is a challenge. The third sub-challenge of securing funding is balancing mission and financial sustainability. New nonprofit organizations, they often struggle with this in the early days, primarily because every need requires more dollars than they have to fund it. But as the organization matures, it is critical that those leading nonprofits learn the skills necessary to fund their mission while preserving financial strength for the future. Our second challenge is building a strong organizational structure. Nonprofit growth and success are rarely organic. This isn't Field of Dreams where you build it and they will come.
If you build it, he will come.
No, long-term impact never comes without a strong organizational structure. Consider these 3 elements as non-negotiables. First is effective leadership. Your new endeavor simply won't last long without effective leadership. Momentum will fizzle, and the nonprofit will never achieve the goals you set out to accomplish. Part of that is just the unique nature of a nonprofit startup. Very often, founders aren't the most corporately minded individuals. They, how shall we say this, tend to be right-brain entrepreneurs. That's actually a phrase we coined around here years ago to describe our mission-minded clientele. The point being, nonprofit startups need to be intentional to recruit and engage leadership who may have some of the organizational and business talent that founders lack, particularly when it comes to the board of directors. The second organizational structure issue is recruiting and retaining skilled staff and volunteers. Just like you need skilled board members, you need skilled team members and volunteers who will be the day-to-day operators of your program. Planning your human resource needs to be a key component of your first 3-year business plan. The third organizational component is developing efficient operational processes. Great leaders and talented staff, they can't operate in a vacuum. To effectively move a new organization toward its mission goals, you need efficient processes that are both effective and repeatable. Sure, you can see examples of nonprofits that seem to accomplish their mission almost in spite of the lack of systems and processes, but that is the exception, not the rule. Often they're just running off the vision and energy of the founder alone. Now, this can be both exhilarating and exasperating, and it won't be effective for long. Take the time to develop the processes that make it possible to continue moving your mission forward, even when you lose key individuals. Bring new talent in and plug them into systems that work. Our third overall challenge is creating impact and measuring success. Now, here's 3 elements of that. Number 1 is defining clear and achievable goals. For a nonprofit startup, it's crucial to have a clear and focused mission, and this involves setting SMART goals: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Without clear goals, it's challenging to gauge success or direct efforts effectively. Startups should ask themselves what change they want to see and how they plan to bring about that change. It's tempting to think that this is self-evident, but I can tell you from experience that it is not. This type of planning is hard work, and it takes clear-eyed thinking to lay out your goals effectively. Number 2 is implementing strategies for impact measurement. Now, nonprofits need to develop a framework for assessing their effectiveness. Now, this can include things like surveys, interviews, or data analysis. Regularly measuring impact not only helps in understanding the effectiveness of the programs, but also in making necessary adjustments. The third element is communicating success to stakeholders and donors. Now, we've talked a lot about this before, but transparency and communication are key to building trust with stakeholders and donors. Nonprofits should regularly update their supporters on their progress, challenges, and successes. Now, this can be done through newsletters, social media, annual reports, and direct communications. Trust me when I say that learning to communicate well can be transformative when it comes to impact. Challenge 4 is navigating legal and regulatory requirements. Now, you had to know that I would get to a section that Foundation Group can help with, and that's the world of compliance. Unless you effectively deal with the legal and regulatory requirements facing your new venture, you won't even get off the ground, much less be successful. Here's 3 points to consider. Number 1, understanding nonprofit legal status and tax exemption. Now, we've covered this one extensively, and there should be links popping up all around me. Suffice it to say, you have to form a legal structure, usually a corporation, then get IRS approval as a 501c tax-exempt organization. Number 2, compliance with local, state, and federal laws. Now, apart from tax laws, nonprofits must also adhere to various other regulations, including employment laws, fundraising regulations, and lobbying restrictions. It's important to be aware of these legal requirements and to avoid penalties to ensure smooth operations. The number 3 item to consider is ethical considerations and transparency. Now, nonprofits are expected to operate with the highest level of integrity and transparency. This includes ethical fundraising practices, responsible use of funds, and clear governance structures. Maintaining ethical standards is vital for building credibility and public trust. This has implications for your leadership as well. All 50 states view nonprofit officers and directors as fiduciaries, meaning they have accountability to ensure the financial integrity and health of the organization. See our video on fiduciary duty for more details on this subject. Challenge number 5 is establishing a strong brand and community presence. All successful organizations, whether it's a business or a nonprofit, learn how to effectively tell their story. It's an indispensable component of high-performing entities. Now, here's 3 things to think about with this. The first thing is developing a compelling brand story. Now, a brand story helps in connecting with the audience emotionally and differentiating the nonprofit from others. Now, this story should reflect the mission, vision, and values of the organization and be consistently communicated across all platforms. Get help with this. This is not easy to do, but it is amazing when it's done right. The second branding consideration is leveraging social media and digital marketing. Now, in today's digital age, an online digital presence, that's not optional. Social media and digital marketing are powerful tools for raising awareness, engaging with the community, and fundraising. And nonprofits should invest in building a strong online presence that resonates with their target audience. The third element is engaging with the community and building partnerships. Building a strong community presence involves more than just online engagement. It includes participating in community events, networking with other organizations, and forming partnerships that can support and enhance the nonprofit's work. Again, no one is going to make you do these things, and you can achieve a measure of success without them. But with them, it can make a difference between a marginal impact and one that sets your nonprofit apart. Challenge 6 is adapting to changing environments. Look, the only constants are death and taxes. Everything else changes. Learning to adapt to changes, sometimes quickly, separates leaders from followers. Here's 3 things to think about. Number 1 is responding to shifts in donor priorities and social trends. The nonprofit sector is dynamic. Donor interest changes and societal needs change. Nonprofits must stay informed about these changes and be ready to adapt their strategies accordingly. Now, this might mean revising programs, exploring new funding avenues, or updating your messaging. Number 2 is embracing technological advancements. Technology can significantly enhance a nonprofit's efficiency and reach. From donor management software to social media platforms, it's important for nonprofits to embrace technological solutions that can help them in their mission. Again, this is an area that causes some to shrink back. They're just not that tech savvy. And that's okay so long as you find someone to help who is. Gone is the day when this was optional. Our third consideration when it comes to change is navigating economic uncertainties. Economic downturns can impact funding and operations. Nonprofits need to have contingency plans in place to manage through uncertain times. Now, this might include diversifying income streams, building a reserve fund, or finding more cost-effective ways to operate. COVID taught us these things better than any classroom ever could. In what seemed like an instant, the whole world was turned upside down and predictable revenue streams dried up. As you may well remember, many businesses and many more nonprofits did not survive 2020 to 2022. Being able to pivot quickly is a survival skill that we all need proficiency. As is typical for our numbered list videos, we are just scratching the surface of everything we could discuss. But our goal with this video was to highlight those things that every social entrepreneur needs to consider before jumping off into starting a nonprofit. You don't have to execute on every point perfectly. Simple awareness of these issues will equip you beyond what many nonprofits begin with. By putting intentional effort behind each of these, however, the odds for your nonprofit accomplishing its mission goes up dramatically. Want to learn more? Check out our videos linked in the description below that will take you deeper into the topics I talked about today. Well, that's it for this installment. Now go serve your community. Hey, do me a favor and don't navigate away just yet. We would really appreciate it if you would hit the like button below, as it really helps get our content recommended to more people. Subscribe if you haven't already, as we have great content coming your way on a regular basis. Finally, you can click the little bell icon to be notified of new content when we post it. To learn more about Foundation Group, you can visit us on the web at www.501c3.org. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.